What's up, everybody? Welcome back to My Overly Competitive Life. I'm Charles Chapman. Coming at you today kind of late. It's 5:30 at night. It's been a busy day. Running around doing errands all morning long. Had to get some car work done. So I've been working on that and doing some errands, picking up some things I need to pick up. So I've just been kind of trying to get home as fast as I can to record this video. But with that being said, I've been kind of busy all day. I haven't really had a chance to sit down with a cup of coffee and look at the sports news and see what's trending. So if I've missed a bigger topic tonight, I apologize. I'll probably get to that tomorrow. But today, as promised, Monday through Friday, one video a day. So I want to try to get this done. This topic for me kind of hits a little closer to home, so I kind of wanted to address this one. But the Oklahoma City Thunder, as you can see, that's my team. Officially decided mutually to part ways with Billy Donovan as their head coach. Who's been the head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder for the last 5 seasons, after winning 2 national titles at the University of Florida as a college coach, and very successful. Came over, coached Oklahoma City, took them to the conference finals where they were up 3-1 on the Golden State Warriors, the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, before they lost that series 4-3. Warriors, of course, go on to win the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant joins the Warriors the following offseason, and that's all she wrote for Oklahoma City. It was 4 straight first-round exits after that for Billy Donovan and the Oklahoma City Thunder. So not exactly what anybody had hoped would come out of Billy Donovan's resume and what he was as a college coach, winning 2 national titles at Florida as a back-to-back, the only head coach to coach back-to-back national champions at the college level, if I'm not mistaken. I may be wrong on that. But anyway, Donovan's out, mutual agreement. It was just, there's a lot of draft picks in Oklahoma City. They've got a lot of guys, a lot of young guys. They got a few veterans, and one of the biggest things really is they're in a rebuilding mode, whether they want to admit it or not, whether any of their fans want to admit it or not. Oklahoma City's in rebuilding mode, even though they had a better than expected season this season. They were not expected to make the playoffs after losing Russell Westbrook last offseason. But they bring in Chris Paul, they bring in Gallinari, they bring in a couple other veteran players. They draft Lou Dort, they drafted Darius Baisley. They get a couple of rookies that they like in there that turned out to be pretty good rookies. So they had a really good season, but it ended in disappointment once again with a 7-game series against the Houston Rockets and Russell Westbrook and James Harden, 2 former Oklahoma City Thunder players, and a first-round exit for the 4th year in a row. So, rebuilding mode, whether you like it, whether anybody wants to admit it or not, that's where they're at right now. There's a lot of talk that Chris Paul might not be back. The Philadelphia 76ers have said they will try to trade for him. So there's the rumors there that he might end up getting traded to Philadelphia. And we'll see what Oklahoma City gets in return for that. I'm very confident they can get something in return for him, because they did pretty good with the trades this last offseason to let Russell Westbrook leave like he wanted to. So with that being said, then Gallinari might not be back as well. That's another one that people are not so sure if he's going to return or not. And so we'll see what happens there with veteran guys that are leaving. This has been a really strange year. And COVID-19, this is where COVID-19 comes in terms of impacting the future of franchises. The Oklahoma City Thunder probably could have afforded to keep those veterans if not for COVID-19. But because of the fact of the loss of revenue that's going to go into, and there's not enough revenue sharing to go on to be able to pay these veteran players next season or the year after that, they're going to have to go ahead and let those guys go for draft picks or next to nothing, and get some equity, some future equity in return, and to go towards rebuilding in the future. So with that being said, there was a lot of talk between Clay Bennett, Sam Presti, and Billy Donovan, and realizing that the direction that the front office was going in wasn't the direction that Billy Donovan wanted to go in at this point in his NBA career, or in his coaching career, period. He's 55 years old, and so he wants to be in a contender-type position. He doesn't want to be rebuilding a young team. He doesn't have the interest to do that. So it was a mutual, respectfully, we're going to part ways type of mutual respect. So Oklahoma City looking for a new head coach. I've got a couple guys I'd like to see. Ty Lue, of course, is one that would be very interesting. He managed the Cleveland Cavaliers really well. Won a championship with them. So, I mean, he's a guy that took LeBron James and Cleveland to the NBA Finals. So he's the kind of guy that could probably get things done in Oklahoma City as well. He's a smart young coach. And another one, Mark Jackson. I know a lot of people have been raving and raving and raving. Mark Jackson needs to get back into coaching. Mark Jackson needs to get hired somewhere. And I'd like to see Mark Jackson come to Oklahoma City. Might not be the place for him to be, but I'd like to see him. And not because of what everybody else thinks. A lot of people seem to think that Mark Jackson built the Warriors into the dynasty that Steve Kerr inherited. And the reality is, I don't think that's true. In the NBA, GMs, scouts, and owners build teams, not coaches necessarily. So coaches come and go, GMs stick around. So I don't really feel like Mark Jackson turned that team into a championship team. Otherwise, he would have done what Steve Kerr could have done if it really was, because he's such a great coach. But I know he's smart. I know he's a good coach. I know he can get the job done. So I'd like to see what he can do with an Oklahoma City Thunder team that's going to be pretty much young and missing a lot of veterans next season. So there's that. But I heard former Oklahoma City Thunder player. What was his name? His name escapes me at the moment. Let's see, the center we had. What's his name? I'm kind of looking this up here. Hold on. But yeah. Anyway, he made a really interesting comment. That kind of stuck out with me pretty well. Kendrick Perkins. Okay, Kendrick Perkins. The name kind of escaped me there. Google's pretty good in the pinch when needed. But Kendrick Perkins made a really interesting comment earlier today when talking about on ESPN First Take the idea that this is a rebuilding Oklahoma City Thunder team, and it would be a disservice to a guy like Mark Jackson or a guy like Ty Lue to bring them in and give them a rebuilding team. Those are the kind of coaches that deserve to be coaching contenders. And that makes a lot of sense to me. I'm down with that. That really sounds good. And he talks about the Sam Cassell's or the Damon Stoudemire's of the world in coaching and bringing those guys in. And it got me thinking, okay, yeah, that'd be great. That'd be really great. Because, I mean, if you're looking at who do you want to bring in as a coach, Sam Cassell is a great guy. And that fills the desire for a lot of people that would want to see an African-American coach in there. That feels like there's not enough African-American, Black American coaches coaching in the NBA. So, Sam Cassell, why not bring him in, have him be that guy? Or Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher's played in Oklahoma City. He's a smart veteran guy. Was a great veteran point guard in the NBA. Winning with the Lakers, did pretty well with Oklahoma City. He manages a young team. He knows how to manage a young team. So, if he could stay out of trouble, because he's had some run-ins with former players and wives and girlfriends and all that stuff. So if he can stay out of trouble, he wouldn't be a bad option. My biggest one, what I would like to see, if we're going to go for a first-time coach that understands role players, understands what it's like as a young player, and how to actually be an NBA player, coming out of high school, coming out of college, where you're used to being the guy, the star. Why not former Oklahoma City and Seattle, former Seattle Supersonic and Oklahoma City Thunder center, Nick Collison, the longtime guy who was drafted by Seattle out of the University of Kansas, stayed with Seattle until they became the Thunder, stayed with the Thunder until he retired, never played anywhere else. Played in Seattle, played in Oklahoma City, same franchise, 2 different cities. So that's a guy, if anybody understands this franchise, where they've come from and where they're at now, Nick Collison would be that guy. And if anybody understands how to take young players and mold them into great players, it would be the guy that literally has been that role in his NBA career. He was never a superstar. He was never an all-star. He was never a guy that we're going to put in the NBA Hall of Fame because he scored a lot of points or anything like that and won a lot of championships. He's the kind of guy that understood his role He understood how to perfect it. And he literally wrote, he didn't write the book on it, but he wrote the article on it. There was an article on GQ magazine he wrote, where he was talking about NBA players being the top dog all the way through college, and then how to adapt their game to the NBA and being a role player. And one of the things he said, if you can become really good at passing, things like screening and passing and defending pick and rolls, communication, boxing out and rotating defensively, you can have a huge effect on your team winning a game. If those are parts of your game become a habit and you develop consistency, you're going to be valuable to your team and have a long career. And that's the kind of guy you need as a coach when you're bringing in these young players and helping them realize that this is a rebuilding team. You're not necessarily going to be the star. You might be the veteran at some point, but right now you're going to be a role player, and you got to learn the role and how to play it. And who better than to explain that to these young guys than a guy like Nick Collison? If you're going to give a first-time guy, a former NBA player, a head coach job that's never really had any coaching experience before, why not go with Nick Collison? I think he'd be a great hire for a team that needs a young coach to coach a young team. And so that would be my thing. I'd like to see that. Sam Cassell, Derek Fisher, Mark Jackson even, Ty Lue. But if all else fails, Nick Collison. We'll see if he wants to coach, and I think he'd be really good at it. But anyway, that's all I've got for you today. A little longer than usual. I didn't think that would go so long. But leave your comments below. Let me know who you think would be the best pick for the next head coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Are you one of those people that would like to see more black coaches coaching in the NBA? Or do you care one way or the other? Who would you pick if you had to pick a minority candidate, a black American head coach? Who would be the guy that you would pick to coach the Oklahoma City Thunder? The Knicks have already got their guy. Of course, the Nets have already got their guy. A lot of backlash for Steve Nash being the white guy hired to the Nets, a job like the Brooklyn Nets in a community. It's Brooklyn. A lot of black people in Brooklyn, so of course that is going to happen. But if you had to pick somebody to coach Oklahoma City that was a minority candidate, who would you take? Who would you pick? Who would you hire? And why? Leave your comments below. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Hit that little bell button, alert button, and that way you can find out be alerted whenever I upload a new video. Guys, that's my overly competitive life, and I'd love sharing it with you. Have a great day. Take care. Stay